I think you're going to really like taking a look at Inspiration Vineyards. Russian River Valley, right in the heart of Sonoma, small boutique winery. Take a look. So how big is Inspiration when you bought it in total acres?
Our property is 6 acres. We have 3.5 acres of Chardonnay and 1 acre of Old Vine Zinfandel.
And so let's specifically talk about the Old Vine Zinfandel right now.
Okay.
Old Vine is somewhat of a misnomer because people are using it from a little bit of a marketing cachet, but these are really, really old vine. How old?
They were planted in 96,
Okay.
but 1896.
1896.
Yeah.
So 107 years old.
Yeah.
Is there any state registration or anything from a certification that says, not that they're that old, but that to be classified as old vine, it has to be over 40 or over 50, or what's the general consensus?
You know, the really sad thing is that there are no standards when people want to name their vineyards Old Vine. I've seen vineyards in California named Old Vine because they make it past 25 years.
Right. And you do the Old Vine Zin, the Chardonnay. What other wines do you do?
I sell Chardonnay so that I can buy some excellent varieties up in Dry Creek. We do a wonderful Syrah.
Okay.
We also co-ferment the Syrah with a little bit of Viognier that's grown here in the Russian River Valley. And also I've been really focusing on our Cabernet Sauvignon program, which is also Dry Creek fruit.
And total production, all cases, all varieties?
This year we'll probably produce just around 1,000 cases. The most I've produced in a year was 2009. I did over about 2,000 cases.
Okay.
And what I'm trying to do is really focus on quality, and what we're trying to do is make super premium wine and sell it at a very reasonable price.
So more is certainly not better. You're
Correct. Yeah.
going specifically for pristine fruit.
Quality and just focusing really on production winemaking techniques and just making the best wine I possibly can.
So when someone is pouring a glass of the Old Vine Zin, tell me some of the flavors and what they might expect, because it's very rare to have a glass of wine made from 100-year-old plus vines.
The Old Vine Zin is white pepper, cardamom, cloves, bay. It is very spice rack kind of oriented wine. I tell folks that it's more savory than sweet. So versus the kind of the raspberry, black jam, black pepper you would get in some Zinfandels, this is on the opposite spectrum where you get that real spice drawer kind of characteristic. That white pepper really stands out. The cardamom, the nutmeg, this vintage has a little bit more nutmeg. Those kind of create a savory spiciness to the wine that makes it very distinctive.
So you're off the beaten path, so to speak, not a huge commercial recognition. First, tell me about the origin of the name.
Well, my wife and I moved here from the San Francisco Peninsula, and I wrote a business plan to convince her I was serious about wine. We started the winery. We were in our 2002 vintage, and we had to come up with a name. And we had a couple of different concepts that just weren't working out. And everybody around us knew our story, knew that we were moving up here to start the winery. And they kept saying, "You're such an inspiration. You're following your dreams. You're making it happen." And my feeling was you always live, you only live once. And so we kept hearing that over and over again. And finally, my wife and I looked at each other and said, "Well, what do you think of Inspiration Vineyards?" And it stuck.
So other than through ingenious programs like ours, tell me a little bit about how someone can find you, how they can taste here, and how they can sit down with you.
Well, the easiest way is to visit our website, and they can send me an email, and I generally respond to every email I get if they'd like to make an appointment. We also have a tasting room that's 4 miles away, and we've got a couple of wine tour companies that make appointments with me, and we sit down under our walnut tree and go through all the bottles, and I tell all the stories.
Perfect. Great time for a tasting.
Absolutely. This is the perfect place for it.
Yes. As you can see, Inspiration Vineyards relies on visitations to the website and locally. Do yourself a favor, spend some time here, get to know the wines, and you will not be disappointed.